And welcome, Energy Family, to the November OEFC Outlet episode. Really appreciate everybody being here. I'm Brian Gordon. I'm the admin for this awesome club. Just wanted to take a moment, share some new happenings, some things coming up with the club that we want everybody to be aware of. And then I am super excited to be able to have an interview with just a staple within our organization, Alexi Vizarales, our goalkeeper coach. So hopefully everybody is tuning in to be able to watch that. I think it's going to be a fun dialogue with him, and we'll always learn something new with him. But let's knock out a little bit about the agenda. So again, we're going to go over some OSA league updates. So if you don't have your calendar out, grab your calendar, grab a pen. You're going to want to make sure to update your calendar with this information. And then we'll talk about some events that we're going to have coming up. Some of them you know, some of them are new. And then lastly, I had that conversation with Alexi. So let's start off. Got your pens? Got your calendar? Awesome. So key winter spring dates, OPL, U11 through U15. The fall season is ending on the 21st. May bleed over if there's some makeup games or whatnot, but just so you guys understand when the cutoff or when the end of the season is going to look towards the end, in the next couple of weeks actually. So be aware of that. Managers out there, put this in your calendar. The spring season application opens up December 15th. So it's fairly important that you stay on top of that. That's when you'll go ahead and submit your teams for the new spring season. You'll do that through OSA's website. So watch their website, oksoccer.com, for more updates. And then the spring season actually begins February 26th. So planning sessions, all you parents out there, for planning your trips, vacations, family events, whatever it might be, schedule around those dates. That's when the beginning of the spring season will be. U16 through U19, our older high school age is what we kind of like to talk to them. They will be continuing their season throughout November, throughout December, and even some games in January and February, all the way to February 6th. That way we conclude with OPL before high school soccer season starts. And then you'll play high school soccer, you'll have some time off from league games. Your teams very well may participate in some tournaments and then come back and play in the State Cup and President Cup. For FCL, U13 FCL begins in the spring. So for those teams that are going to participate in FCL, January, you're going to have games in North Texas. In March, you're going to have games in South Texas. And then in April, those teams are coming to us. So somewhere in the state of Oklahoma, maybe in Tulsa, maybe in Oklahoma City. We'll have to kind of see where that shakes out. But just for you, U13 teams that are playing in FCL, make sure you mark down those weekends because those will be your play dates. Then, looking towards the end of the spring season, that's where we have the big State Cup and President's Cup. So both of them will be overlapping the same weekends. So your prelims are on the 13th through the 15th. Your semis are going to be May 20th through the 22nd. The prelims are going to be on the east side of the state. The semis will be in NOKC or ESC in Oklahoma City. And then if you qualify for regionals, you'll be headed to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, if you're part of the State Cup National Championship Series. And you'll be headed to awesomely Dallas, Texas for President's Cup. I love that we don't have to travel very far. Dallas has some amazing facilities. Should be a really good time. So make sure you screen capture this or get it into your calendars. But this look for these dates to be what we want to schedule around. And as always, go to oksoccer.com, OSA's website, to follow along, look for updates, see if there's any changes or whatnot. So events coming up. I know we talked about it. Next couple of weeks, we have the first annual Oklahoma Premier Showcase, our Winter Showcase. Should be an amazing time. So teams, if you are out there listening and you haven't signed up for it, go ahead and get signed up. I think registration is closing pretty soon. So you want to get in and be involved in this. We're going to have some great college coaches there to see our older players, and it's just going to be a fun time for the younger teams. Also, volunteers. We could use your help. We want to make this a big event and have a lot of fun with it, but we need our volunteers to be able to make it successful. So look for a volunteer sign up to go out. Anything anybody can do, 5 minutes of your time, a day of your time. If you're going to be out there with your kids, if you can help, that would be awesome. There's a number of different ways that we can help make this a really fun event. So make sure you guys are paying attention to this, looking into this, and absolutely participating. If you have any questions, email the tournament committee. And then something else that's really exciting coming up. At the end of December, we have our OEFC Elite Girls Soccer Camp. So this is run by our ECNL coaches, and it's designated for pre-ECNL age groups. So the 2010s, 2011s, 2012 girls. It's going to be December 27th through the 29th, and it's going to be at Soccer City. So make sure you guys are following our website and social media for sign up on that and information on that. It's a great environment. I think all these girls had a tremendous amount of fun last year, and it really gave the coaches a fun environment to be able to work with some of the up-and-coming players coming into the club and really be able to get some extra visibility with them. So certainly check it out. I think everybody will have a blast. We'll have a boys camp pretty soon as well. So just follow OEFC social media and websites to make sure you have the latest information. Now, what we really wanted to do was get into this meeting and talk to our Director of Goalkeeping, Lexi Vizarales, just an amazing person, a wonderful coach, and really just been here as a staple of OEFC. OEFC wouldn't be what we are without him. Lexi, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Brian? Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here. As I said, you've been with OEFC since the beginning, which is quite a long time. Tell us a little bit about the program that you run. Tell us a little bit about how you focus on goalkeeping within OEFC.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a position that's evolved over the years. So obviously, my position within the club, I kind of started off in goalkeeping. That was how I got involved in the club, working with one of the directors, Jimmy Hampton. I'd played for him previously at the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma. And then obviously I wanted to get into coaching, expressed that I wanted to kind of transition out of playing, obviously, and get into coaching, and actually wanted to stay in America and kind of do my coaching here and my education here versus going back home and doing it. So he started to integrate me in terms of putting me in charge of goalkeeping very, very early on. And he basically said, look, I trust you. I know you're going to do a great job, but it's basically yours to figure out at the end of the day and kind of
trial by fire.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I started off making a ton of mistakes, as you probably would as a young 20-year-old, probably focusing too much on trying to win versus to develop and putting maybe too much pressure on goalkeepers. And then as I matured as a person and as a coach, I kind of realized, look, there's stages, there's a process to what we need to try and do. And the very most important thing is to make sure that all the sessions and all the discussions we have surrounding goalkeeping, there's always going to be an element of fun, because we can know it's a lonely position. It's a very lonely position. I mean, you're part of the goalkeeper union, Brian. I know you still have the gloves on from time to time and go down Soccer City and play. So, so basically it was like, how can we continue to have fun even in the bad moments, even when, we've maybe conceded or made mistakes that have cost us and our teams, and trying to kind of implement some characteristics that will help us in terms of coping mechanisms. So then I kind of took a more broader view of, we've got to look into not only just the physical aspects of goalkeeping, but the mental aspects too. Criteria that you need in order to survive in the position. So, it started to evolve that way. I'm very proud of our program. I'm very proud of the support that the board has kind of instilled on me and the directors and coaches, both Phillips and Hampton. They basically, kind of defer everything that's goalkeeping towards me, but that doesn't mean they necessarily shove it to one side and, kind of put it in a corner. We used to call it the compost corner in England, which was basically when a team trained, the goalkeepers were kind of shoved to the back of the field where it wasn't so nice, and had to do their bits until the team needed them, basically, not the other way around. So we've started to implement some things now, from the development, from the identification. Obviously, in academy, it's a little bit different because they start off with actually out a goalkeeper, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm going to have my little plug here, my soapbox thing, but I would love.
Yeah, this is you've got an audience of millions. If you're going to soapbox, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, no, I'd love the 4v4 format to actually be a little bit of a bigger goal, and actually have a goalkeeper in goal that can have a certain area that they can use their hands, just like the actual game, and actually have 4 players and a goalkeeper, so 5 aside. It's how I grew up playing in England. I'm not saying it's right. We've only won World Cup, and that was in 1966.
It's been a while.
Yeah, exactly. But however, I do think that the game needs a goalkeeper, and what you're seeing in the 4v4 format right now is one field player actually sitting very, very deep and just kicking balls away from the goal, which isn't helping anyone. So I would love to incorporate that at the very start of their journey, and kind of increase that as the game transitions into 7v7 and 9v9, and then obviously into the format, which is the 11v11 game. So, but we don't have that. But what we try to do is identify academy keepers within both clubs, which is the Edmonds Soccer Club and obviously NOKC. I have a great relationship with the goalkeeping coaches on the academy side, Jennings Clark and Jason Miller, that works out of NOKC, and they identify some goalkeepers that actually show a passion, although I don't think a player should be made to play in goal the whole time at that age. I think they should move around and not only work on their feet, but maybe we're missing the boat. Maybe there's a great athlete that's actually playing on the field that actually could turn into a great goalkeeper. That's what happened in my career, and I think a lot of goalkeepers started off in the field and then transitioned into goal. But we have a great relationship, a great understanding of what we're looking for, and we try and make the sessions as fun as possible. And then our idea is basically no different than the competitive side. As they transition into the competitive side, again, trying to put each and every goalkeeper within the club in the right environment. So, obviously the first and second team keepers have a little bit more in terms of things they have to juggle, which is probably a little bit more travel, probably some extra training sessions, probably, have to deal with a little bit more, but that doesn't necessarily mean they need to be thought of higher than anyone else in the club. One thing that I kind of really hang my hat on, and I think anyone that's been around my sessions would probably agree, is my passion in terms of any goalkeeper, whether it's an 8-year-old versus an 18-year-old, my passion's the same, in terms of the session and the session I'm trying to run. And we're just trying to get each and every goalkeeper within our club in the right environment. Some need to be pushed a little bit more. Some need to be, they love that competitive side and they thrive off it. But there's others that kind of don't enjoy that right now, and it's a little bit too much for them. It doesn't mean they're necessarily not going to make it. It doesn't mean they're necessarily not going to be a very good goalkeeper. But they need to just have fun, enjoy it, learn at a different pace, if that makes sense. So we try to kind of establish that. And one thing that we do a very good job of here at OEFC is constant communication with all the coaches in terms of the development of their keepers, how they're doing in games all the time, whether it's, some of the ECNL coaches sending me, some Instat reports, some video analysis to look at and look at some moments in the game where they think I can maybe supply a little bit more in terms of expertise to the goalkeepers to help them, right down to like I said, the teams that are maybe 3rd, 4th or 5th tier, their coaches saying, hey, my goalkeeper's really struggling with this in their game. Is there any way you can kind of incorporate that in your training? And can we borrow or lean on your expertise to help them gain a little bit more confidence in in these situations. So I think that's one thing that the club has done a very good job of is through the directorship and the board. They actually identified that goalkeeping is very, very important. It's a specialized role. It's a sport within the sport almost.
Right.
You know, it's a different thing, and goalkeepers need someone that kind of understands what they're going through on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, yearly basis, and that's basically where I fit in.
So do you, especially in the youth environment, do you think that most youth programs have some sort of goalkeeper initiative, or are we a little bit unique in that we have such a strong focus on specialized training for goalkeepers?
I think the clubs in the state of Oklahoma have come a really long way. I think it's becoming more and more prevalent. I think more and more clubs are realizing that you need a goalkeeping coach, a specialized goalkeeping coach. It's definitely, I think we were definitely one of the first to implement that. You know, and a lot of clubs, I have a lot of coaches from outside clubs that kind of lean on me, and we all are part of the goalkeeping union, so we all discuss it and we implement ideas. And I basically, you know, want to affect the state on a greater scale through the OEFC platform. You know, because I feel that this is a great club, and this is the right place for me. However, I do want to help, you know, pass my experience and knowledge to other people, and just experience and knowledge that I've gained because I'm a lot older than a lot of people doing this. So I do think it's getting a lot better. However, I think where we stand out a little bit is that we have a communication with all the teams within the club versus just, hey, go to your goalkeeping coach this day, 1 day a week. But we're not really going to discuss what you do. He can do whatever he wants, or she can do whatever she wants. We're just going to get upset with them when you're not getting better. And I think we have a better line of communication in terms of periodization, in terms of what I'm trying to achieve with goalkeepers, in terms of what I'm trying to implement. And it's not just an open forum by, hey, my goalkeeper really sucks at crosses. Could you work on crosses? That's not how it works. That's not fair on the entire group that's training. I can't change a session just because a certain goalkeeper maybe struggled with one aspect at the weekend. But however, there's constant communication, so I can develop and implement our training to make sure that we cover everything that's needed for that goalkeeper to feel as confident, as comfortable during the games.
So for a youth or even a high school age goalkeeper who may necessarily be new to goalkeeping, what are the things that you see are most important characteristics in your goalkeepers?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's actually interesting. We were training last night, and there's a goalkeeper that was came to try out for one of our ECNL teams, and great kid, and you could tell he was a little bit blown away by all the terminology and some of the things that we were saying and discussing, and some of the things that the goalkeepers who had been at the club a little bit longer were able to implement and do. And he was kind of felt a little bit, he was behind the eight ball. And I said, no, listen, you have a super strength. All goalkeepers have a super strength. And as coaches, I feel like we more often than not will try to always work on weaknesses, because we feel that if we do that, we're going to have a more complete goalkeeper. Well, if you look at modern goalkeepers, every one of them are different.
Right.
Some of them, you know, play a lot different than others. Manuel Neuer will play a lot further away from his goal than Hugo Lloris. So they all have super strengths. Lloris plays, the Tottenham goalkeeper and France goalkeeper, plays a lot closer to his line because he's very quick, he's very agile. Manuel Neuer is very brave, very aggressive, and he leaves his line very well. So that's his super strength. So what we try to do here at OEFC is develop the kids' strengths, because once they realize how good their strengths are, they kind of respect and learn their weaknesses as well. But if they're always trying to fix their weaknesses and get them up to par with their strengths, which is nearly impossible, they're weaknesses for a reason.
Right.
It can actually lead to a little bit of an imbalance, and you can actually start to think, I'm never getting better, I'm never going to be the goalkeeper I need to be. And reality is, you never have a perfect game as a goalkeeper. There's always something that you can improve on. So really, it's no different than the outfield players. The pillars are basically the same. There's a technical aspect. There's obviously a tactical aspect in how they play within their team, and that's where the communication with the coaches are really good. There's a physical aspect, so there's fitness, there's quickness, there's power. We all know that we need to push off and we need to cover a lot of the goal and a lot of space. And then there's, like I said, there's the social mental side, which is how do you deal with the good days? How do you deal with the bad days? How do you, take a bad day at school and turn it into a good day on the training field? How do you take a bad day on the training field and turn it into a good next morning at school? So we kind of concentrate on those pillars that are basically the main staple of any player. But the focus is more on strengths than weaknesses. I would tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you look at key factors in keepers, I think you even have a slide on it, which I just popped up. It all centers around how quick and how confident can you make decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at those pieces and within the game, and I forget, I can't see the slide that I sent you, but within the game, I think the decision making is very, very important. And like I said, the 4 pillars that go within making yourself a better goalkeeper kind of correlate with those different things. And again, we don't just talk about defending the goal, we talk about defending space as well. So when we talk about the tactical aspect, controlling the space behind the defenders, how do we do that? What super strengths can you develop so that you feel comfortable not only defending the goal but defending space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a continuous work on that, and our periodization kind of starts early within the basic identification process, which is in our tryouts we run goalkeeping sessions.
Which I think that's unique for our club. I don't know that many other clubs, when they run through tryouts, they get everybody on a field, they have the keepers running around doing foot skills with everybody else, and then a shooting drill, and then they pick their teams. We actually provide an outlet of, for keepers to be able to get visibility just on the keeper aspect of it within the tryout process.
Absolutely, Brian. I think, one of the biggest pieces of, I would say, trepidation for goalkeepers is the tryout process, because they're going to get stuck in goal. They don't really know the team that they play small-sided or 11v11 games, and there might be an activity that they do that they're really not comfortable with, so they don't show themselves in their best capacity. So like I said, we sat down, yourself, the directors of coaching, myself, and said, all right, what can we do to give the goalkeepers the best confidence to then lead into the tryout process? So for those listening in, what we developed is we bring them in with me first to activate them, to kind of make them feel as warmed up, as ready, as intrinsically and motivated as they possibly could be, and so that when they join the rest of the group in terms of their training, they feel like we actually care about them. We actually have identified them. We're actually evaluating them as a goalkeeper, not just a team player. Versus, I'd be honest, I feel like just being around and talking to people, the identification process in different clubs is basically they've already picked the goalkeepers before they come in, because they said, well, this guy's played, he's been a number 1 for this team. This player's, been a number on the second team, this one on the third team. And unless they do something outrageous during a tryout to change someone's mind, it basically stays that way, and they try and figure it out later on in the season. But I don't think that's fair on the goalkeeper. I think the goalkeeper should have just as much in terms of an evaluation as any field player playing in that, playing in their position or his or her position. So we try to identify that. I kind of send out every evening to the coaches what I feel the best fit for the goalkeepers on the teams, and we actually even have discussions on should you take 2 goalkeepers versus 1 goalkeeper. How does that help the goalkeeper? Some prefer the competition, some don't. Of course, all the parents say, "Oh no, it's just got to be my kid," but we try to educate even the parents and say, "Look, the reason we're doing this is for X, Y, and Z. I think it's beneficial to the team and the goalkeeper at that point." So we tend to have more conversations than just going into a tryout and saying who had the best day, because we all know as goalkeepers we can have some pretty bad days,
Right.
and it doesn't necessarily mean that we are as bad as that day that we had. On the flip side, we've had some great days, and that doesn't necessarily mean we're as great as that day.
You're going to be a superstar every day. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all had that game where we've gone, where did that come from? That was brilliant. I wish I could do that. But the reality is, the game doesn't allow us to do that. So we try to place the goalkeepers in an environment that not only helps the teams but helps them develop, because that's my role at the end of the day, is to develop and help goalkeepers reach their full potential.
So for people who are familiar with you particularly, they know that you're also the goalkeeper coach and assistant coach for the Energy Pro team. Tell us a little bit about the difference between coaching a pro athlete and a youth athlete. I mean, are there vast differences, or do they fit kind of in the same category?
That's a great question. So honestly, there's not a lot of difference, because they both share a passion. They both, are in it to get better. I think, obviously, I have a lot more time on the pro side, so it's more of a daily interaction. So within that, there's a lot more video analysis. There's a lot more in terms of identifying themes and certain things that we need to implement. There's obviously a lot more scouting involved. I would say one of the biggest differences is we actually kind of mold our training towards the end of the week on the pro side to kind of get them ready for the next opponent. We don't really do that on the youth side, because with 70 plus competitive teams,
it'd be kind of impossible to do.
So what we try to do is basically make them feel as confident as they can going into the weekend. But that also means a little bit of education, because sometimes parents slip up and say, "Hey, she's got a big weekend. Can you make sure she's this?" And that's it. Hey, every weekend's big. There's no bigger weekend than the other. We just prepare them for the next game. So, but going back to your questions on what's really, really different, I would say the motivation in terms of the goalkeeper, I think it's a little bit more result orientated on the professional side, because, the 3 points that you're playing for, we all want to win, but obviously the 3 points that we're playing for at the weekend has a different kind of feel about it, impact than it would for most youth goalkeepers. However, on the youth side, we're trying to develop and get them to understand that it's a process that we're trying to get them up to. So I think you probably showed a slide in terms of how we feel like the pathway to become a professional actually works. I don't know if you can pull that back up.
Yep, it's up now.
Okay, so if we look at that, we talked about the identification at the academy level, which is a non-competitive level for those listening in. Then we try to develop an environment at the youth level, which is OEFC. So we try to get them into the right environment. And then from that, we dangle the carrot of moving up teams. We dangle the carrot of national team recognition, which we've been lucky enough to have numerous goalkeepers from the likes of Hensley Handcuff, that you can see there on the slide, who's now actually just graduated Clemson, is looking to further a career in the professional women's league. You've got goalkeepers like Lizzie Passwaters, who's actually in our club right now. She's in 2006 on the ECNL. She's been invited into a lot of national team training pools. And so, we kind of dangle that carrot to say, look, let's push the envelope a little bit here. Can we get you seen by the national team? Can we get you into that? And I think both Mark Howard and Gareth Evans, Coach Phillips, Coach Hampton do a great job of kind of highlighting that in our club, and yourself. And when we have keepers make those accolades or field players, we promote that within the club. And then it's basically, how can we develop a goalkeeper to go all the way through the system and maybe make the MLS, maybe make the USL, maybe make the NWSL, the Women's League, and and we've been fortunate enough to have goalkeepers from our club actually, make that transition all the way through and make the professional level. The likes of Brian Byers, Ray Clark, Jennings Clark, who's now back, finished playing, and is actually helping at the club on the goalkeeping side. So it's a process to get to that top level, and that's, you don't necessarily have to be a first team goalkeeper your entire youth career to get there. I think Jennings will tell you. He quit many a times. He changed teams many a times. He got demoted a few times and had to work his way back up. And it's a pathway. But again, coming back to that question, in terms of passion, in terms of drills, in terms of activities, for lack of a better word, it's very similar.
Sure.
It is very similar, because goalkeeping, you can make it very, very complicated, or you can make it very, very simple as you can, through good communication, through good periodization, through clean sessions, and that's kind of where I want the goalkeepers to learn in a very simple world, because once you get confused by it, it can get very intimidating.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got a few minutes left, but I don't want to leave without talking a little bit about you. A lot of people don't know much about you. Tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from? How were you brought up? How did you get to the United States?
I know where I'm from. I just don't know technically what I am now, because I started off. I was obviously born in southeast England in a city called, I guess you'd call it city here, but a county in England called Essex. Which is very close to London. I would say very close. If you're thinking Premier League teams, very close to West Ham, even though I support Tottenham, long story there. But
let's not get into that.
Yeah, no, I can't get into that, especially now. So southeast England, so very, very close to London, like I said, capital of England, and kind of grew up there. But my mum's English, my dad's Greek, so I had a really, really cool childhood where kind of I basically had two cultures. I was Greek in the summer because I'd go and spend my summers there, and then most of my school was in England. So kind of bounced between two countries for a little bit, and then kind of settled in England and started playing in England, and realised I loved playing and became a goalkeeper, and had good years and bad years. And then when it got to I think I was about 20, I got a call to come to the US, and I got offered a scholarship to go to the University of Science and Arts, like I said, where I met Coach Hampton, and fell in love with not only America but Oklahoma, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And then have stayed ever since. So I think technically, if you take the 4 college years and kind of say that was part of living in America, I think I've lived in the States now longer than I've actually lived in the country of my birth, which is England. So I'm an Okie.
Yeah, so you've been transitioned over to being an Oklahoman. Well, that's not always a bad thing. So that's awesome. So when you started in soccer, did you say, hey, you know what, that goalkeeper position looks awesome, I'm going to do that? Or did you get stuck in the goal and be like, hey, I'm pretty good at this, I'm going to just stick this out?
Funny story, I'll make it quick. So I used to be a left winger. I don't know why, because I do not have a left foot. So I was a left winger. And then my school team, they weren't great. And I thought, you know what? I want to go and go. And it wasn't like I'm going to make the team better. I just thought it looked really fun. I love diving around. And the first time I went in goal, my dad was never make me late. He ran his own business. He's like, hey, 4 o'clock, you got to be at that school gate. We got to go. You got to be there. And 4:10 came, 4:15, 4:30 came, and he's like, where is this? So he walked down to the fields. I'm caked in mud, diving around the goal, no idea what the time is. And so after a brief chat with my dad, he realized I had some passion, because I got over the telling off and continued to want to play in goal. So it's just basically, it looked like fun, so I jumped in.
That's awesome. Well, that's how it all starts. So, awesome stuff. I mean, like I said, the program wouldn't be where it is now. I mean, not just outside the goalkeepers, but across the entire program without your input and leadership in it. So we thank you for that. I'm showing everybody the schedule that you have. So the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday schedule that you put together. So Folks, if you're a goalkeeper, you probably already know this, but just wanted to let everybody else see kind of the intensity of what our goalkeepers go through. And then if you haven't been participating, reach out to Lexi, have a conversation with Lexi, because he just wants to help make the program and your individual goalkeepers better. And we have the platform to do it. So we're lucky to have a resource like him. I mean, I challenge anybody to go across the clubs across the United States and find a goalkeeper coach for the youth program that is also a professional goalkeeper coach for a pro program. We are absolutely lucky to have somebody like that. So appreciate everything you do, Lexi. Like I said, you're a cornerstone of this club, and we wouldn't be where we are now without you.
No, likewise, I appreciate all of you guys for taking the time to listen. Brian, thank you for kind of making goalkeeping a platform again. I appreciate that, and I think you're spot on. I just want to help the players. We do have a manager. We do have Team Snap set up, so you don't have to constantly communicate with your managers or your head coaches. But any questions, feel free to reach out. And I'm very honored and blessed to work in this great state and at this great club. So thank you for your time, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Lexi. All right, guys. Wrapping up, we're moving into the Thanksgiving time frame, so I think it's appropriate that we as a club share a little bit of thanks for everybody who's part of our club. So running through it, looking at this, first of all, just thank you to the coaches, thank you to Alexi, thank you to our directors of coaching, Coach Hampton, Coach Phillips, and thank you to all the coaches in our club, because I mean, guys, you are what drives this club forward. I mean, without you, then we are just an average club. You guys are what makes this excellent. So thank you for that. Thank you to our managers and treasurers. You guys are the unsung heroes for our club. All the volunteers, in fact. But man, I mean, anybody who's spent time with our managers and our treasurers know how much time they invest in our teams. And they do it for free. These are volunteer people, so they're doing it out of the passion for the kids, passion for the game, and passion for soccer in Oklahoma. Also, thank you to the parents. I mean, you guys are weathering 100-degree weather. You weather 32-degree weather. You drive across the state, much less travel across the country, all for your kids. Obviously you guys put blood, sweat, and tears of your own into this program, and it is not lost upon us at all. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, thank you to the players. You guys put out the effort. You are what makes this fun, what makes it exciting. We are who we are because of the teams we put on the field, and you guys are part of those teams. So ultimately, guys, as we're going into Thanksgiving, I just want to give my own personal sincere thank you for everybody here, everybody listed out there, because you are what drives OEFC. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to our awesome sponsors, Provision Concepts, OSO, Squirtle TV, and Mercy Sports Medicine. You guys make our programs impactful, and your support is just enormous. Again, we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So thank you to everybody. We really have a wonderful club, and all of it is because of you guys. So hopefully everybody has a great holiday as they go into the Thanksgiving season. Hopefully you're safe. And look forward to some really exciting news coming up in the future. We've got our showcase coming up, and we've got some new things developing within OEFC that I think everybody's going to be really thrilled about. So stay tuned. Check out some of the next couple episodes, because I'm hoping to be able to break some of that news. Otherwise, guys, thank you for everything you do, and we'll see you out in the pitch.